In 2024, I personally booked nearly 1,000 appointments for med spas across the United States. And the way I did that was by picking up the phone and calling their leads for them. And the way that we got those leads was primarily through Facebook and Instagram ads. And in this video, I want to talk about why your ads are never profitable, whether you try to run ads by yourself, whether they're through Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or Google, it doesn't matter, or whether you hire an agency to run your ads for you. I want to talk about why your ads are never profitable. And then I'll give you the secret to making your ads so incredibly profitable so that you know that every single time that you put $1 in, you're going to get $2, $3, $5, $10 back. And so all it is just a matter of putting more dollars into the system so that you can get more profit back and then achieve all of your wildest dreams as a med spa owner. So let's just jump right into the content of the video here. The reason that your ads are never profitable is because you don't understand your numbers. Okay. And it's not your fault that you don't understand your numbers. It's probably your agency's fault because they didn't help you understand these things. But that's why I'm creating this video, is I'm hoping that this can just serve as a little bit of education around some of the most important numbers that you need to understand as a business owner. And we're going to talk about some math in this video. We're going to talk about some boring business numbers. I would really recommend that you stick through this to the end, because as an owner, if you don't know these numbers for your business, it is going to be very difficult to ever make your ads profitable. And so this could be the difference between flushing $4, $5, $10,000 down the toilet with another marketing agency, and it could be the difference between that and making your ads so profitable that you never want to leave your marketing agency, and then you get so big that you decide to build your own in-house team, and then you never have to work with one ever again, right? Now, there are only 3 numbers that you ever need to know as a med spa owner. And the better that you know these numbers and the better you understand how they interact with each other, the more profitable your ads are going to be. And so I'm just going to walk through each of them, and you don't have to get too bogged down in the details because I'm going to go through a specific example. But just to introduce these ideas, the first number that you need to know is called your average lifetime gross profit. So LTGP just stands for lifetime gross profit. And now your average lifetime gross profit is how much revenue does the average customer pay you over the lifetime of them being a customer, minus how much money it costs you to fulfill for their services. And so let's just pretend somebody comes in and visits you one time, and they spend $100 with you, and it costs you $50 to fulfill on whatever they purchase. That means that your lifetime gross profit on that customer would be $50, right? 100 minus 50 in that scenario. Now, your 30-day gross profit is the same exact thing, except it's just condensed down to the first 30 days. So in the first 30 days, if someone spends $500 with you and you have to spend $200 in order to fulfill the services for that customer, then that means that your 30-day gross profit would be $300. And then the final and the third number that you need to understand about your business is your customer acquisition cost. And your customer acquisition cost is how much money does it cost you in order to get a new customer. And so if you're advertising, if you're paying an agency, you tally up all of the costs associated with getting new customers, and then you figure out how many customers you got, and then you divide those numbers to figure out the exact number that it costs you in order to get one new customer. Now, those are the 3 numbers that you have to understand. Now, there's only 2 formulas that you need to understand, and this is how these numbers interact with each other. The first one is that your lifetime gross profit must be at least 3 times as big as your customer acquisition cost. So what exactly does that mean? And again, I'll explain it, but then we're going to go through an example that makes it make a lot more sense. But your lifetime gross profit is just how much money, it's how much profit you make from a customer over the lifetime of them being a customer. And then your customer acquisition cost is how much money it costs you to get that customer. So let's say, for example, I have to spend $100 into Facebook in order to get one new customer. That means that if my lifetime gross profit is $300 from that customer, then I know for certain that I'm going to be profitable, right? Because if I can put $100 in and get $300 back in profit, that means that I have a 3-to-1 return. Now, the second formula that you need to understand is your 30-day gross profit, and it must be equal to your customer acquisition cost. So in other words, how much gross profit do you collect from a customer in the first 30 days? You need that to be equal to your customer acquisition cost. So if it costs me $100 to get a new customer, and I collect $100 in gross profit from that person in the first 30 days, that means that I break even on that customer, and I essentially just got that customer for free in the first 30 days. And that's how you never have another cash flow issue in your business. Now, if you can make these two formulas true, which we'll talk about how to do in this video, you can print free customers from ads and never have to worry about profitability ever again. Now, let me show you an exact example of how this works. Let's say that we decide we're going to advertise an introductory offer to get people in the door. We're going to advertise it on Facebook and Instagram. Let's say that offer that we decide on is 10 units of Botox for $100, okay? And let's just pretend like our gross profit on this is $40. So in other words, let's just pretend like you're a solo practitioner, you're treating people out of your house for now, you don't have any additional expenses as it relates to fulfilling the service other than just buying the Botox, okay? And let's say that you get Botox for $6 a unit. That means that it costs you $60 to fulfill on this service and you are getting $100 from that customer. That means that your gross profit is $40. So you are collecting, you're going to get $40 of gross profit anytime that someone purchases this offer from us. Now, let's say that we're also spending $1,500 a month in ad spend, and let's say that that is resulting in 30 appointments. And let's just pretend for the sake of this example to keep the numbers simple that 100% of people show up and 100% of people actually end up purchasing. Let's say that you're also spending $1,500 a month to an agency. That means that your total cost every single month in marketing expenses would be $3,000. And so if we take $3,000 and we divide that by how many customers are coming in on a monthly basis, which we're just pretending is 30 for this example, that means that it would cost you $100 to acquire a new customer. So that means every time I put $100 into our marketing system, I know that I'm going to get one customer back, okay? Now, like I said before, we want our lifetime gross profit to be at least 3 times as big as our customer acquisition cost. And so in this case, if our customer acquisition cost is $100, we want to aim to try to make $300 in gross profit from that customer over the lifetime of them being a customer. And so that means that if they come in and visit us 3, 4, 6 more times, and then they decide they're not going to visit us after that, we want to try to at least make $300 in gross profit from that customer. So this means that if someone pays you enough revenue over their lifetime of being a customer that you profit at least $300, then you have a profitable business. Why? Well, your customer paid you enough to go buy the next 1 or 2 customers and still have money left over for your overhead. So in other words, if it costs us $100 to get a customer and this person is making us $300 in profit, that means that we can go buy another customer or 2 more customers and we still have that additional $100 left over for your overhead, right? Now, this obviously isn't very hard because if the average client, let's just say, gets 30 units with you and you charge $12 a unit, that means that that would be $180 in gross profit every single time that somebody visits you. That means that if you can get this person to visit you 1 or 2 more times, all of a sudden you're profitable. But we have a huge issue here. What that means is that until that person visits you 1 or 2 more times, you're in the negative. So you're losing money. That means that that first visit, during the first visit, you lose $60 each time that you make a sale. And the reason for that is because we are making only $40 of gross profit on this offer, and we are spending $100 to even get that customer in the first place. So 40 minus 100 is negative 60, right? So we're losing $60 every single time that we make a sale. And this is why I think so many people give up on ads so early, is because they work with a marketing agency or they try to run the ads themselves and they don't understand this. And then what happens is you're like, oh my gosh, I keep losing $60 every time I make a sale. Like I couldn't possibly do this more, because like in our example here, let's just say that we got 30 people to come in on this offer and purchase this offer. That means that every single time that somebody purchases, we are losing $1,800, or every single time that we get 30 people to come in every month, we're losing $1,800 on this entire system. And so month 1 goes by and you lose $1,800. Month 2 goes by, you lose another $1,800. Month 3 goes by, you lose another $1,800. And it isn't until month 4, month 5, month 6 where you start to see these people come back in and you're like, okay, well now it's starting to get profitable. But in the first, second, and third month, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm losing so much money. I'm going to cut out my marketing agency and I'm going to stop running the ads. Obviously, losing $60 each time you make a sale, this creates a huge cash problem in your business, because you're still profitable in the long run if you can get people to come back and visit you again. But depending on how often people visit you, that could be 6 months from now that you get people to come back in again until you actually become profitable. And so you probably can't afford to go in the negative for 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 months, right? Unless you have a massive amount of funding or something, which most people don't. So how do we solve this problem? How do we solve this negative cash flow issue where every time we make a sale, we're losing $60 and we don't become profitable until 3 or 6 months down the line? Well, right now, our customer acquisition cost is greater than our 30-day gross profit. So in other words, that means we are spending $100 and we're only making $40 back in gross profit from that customer. And so every single time we are losing 60 bucks. And so the only way to make this worth it is to decrease our customer acquisition cost or increase our 30-day gross profit, right? Because let's just pretend like our 30-day gross profit is still $40. If we can somehow figure out a way to acquire customers for $40, then we would be breaking even and we're not losing any money in the first month, which would be incredible. Or if we can increase our 30-day gross profit, so let's say that our customer acquisition cost is $100, so it costs us $100 to get a customer. If we can somehow figure out a way to get people to pay us $100 worth of gross profit in the first 30 days, then again, we're breaking even, and that would be fantastic. We're basically getting that customer for free. Now, the thing here is that decreasing your customer acquisition cost, so getting customers for cheaper, it's pretty difficult to do. That means that you have to have like really excellent ads, or you have to like figure out a system where you can just get customers at a super cheap cost, which is kind of difficult to do. It is much easier to increase your 30-day gross profit. So in other words, how can we make more per customer every single time that somebody comes in the door? How can we make more profit on every single customer that comes in? And the answer to this is to immediately sell them more stuff. And so this is a direct quote from a book called $100 Million Leads. The trick here is that if we can immediately get a certain percentage of the people that come in to purchase something more expensive, then we can automatically make this system much more profitable. So we need to immediately sell people more stuff. This is why your ability to sell or your team's ability to sell makes or breaks your ads effectiveness. And I talk about this all the time in all of my videos, and I tell my clients this all the time. But the way that you make your ads work is by learning how to sell. And so if you are in this mindset where you're like, selling is against our brand, to me, saying selling is against our brand is the same thing as saying making money is against our brand. Okay. You need to get over that hump of like, oh, we're not going to learn how to sell. We're not going to practice. Or if you're like if you're a med spa owner and you have a team and your team isn't practicing sales on a daily basis, or they don't have a good consultation process to follow, and they aren't practicing how to handle objections, then you need to start implementing that stuff. Let me show you why. Now, let me show you an example of what this could look like. Okay, now let's say that we are still running that offer that I mentioned before, which is 10 units of Botox for $100. But then our plan is to try to upsell as many of the people that come in as possible into a bigger package. And let's just say that our bigger package is 50 units of Botox plus a lip flip. And now we're going to charge $660 for this package. Let's just pretend that our cost to fulfill on that is $330 for simplicity. Then that means that our gross profit in the first 30 days of people who purchase this upsell would be $330. Now, that means that in the first 30 days, someone who purchases this upsell, we make 330 bucks from that customer. Now, let's just pretend like only a third of people buy, because obviously not everybody is going to purchase this upsell. Some people are just going to purchase the first thing. And for simplicity's sake, let's just say that 1/3 of people purchase this offer, so this upsell, and the other 2/3 of people just purchase the first thing that we got them in the door for. That means that the average 30-day gross profit would be 27 plus 109, which I'm not going to bore you with the math, but basically if 2/3 of the time people purchase the upfront offer and a third of the time people purchase our upsell, that means that on average, we are going to make $136 of gross profit every single time that we get a new customer in the door. Now, congratulations, your gross profit is bigger than your cost to acquire a customer. So that means that now we are collecting $136 from someone, and it costs us $100 to get them in the door. And so we are profiting $36 every single time we get a customer. So we are getting paid to get customers, which is amazing, right? Your goal should be to just break even. Like if we could just break even on the front end and say, okay, we're getting $100 from people and it costs us $100, fantastic, we just got a free customer. But in this scenario, you're making 36 bucks every single time you get someone. This now means you no longer have negative cash flow and you've acquired a customer for free. Even though your profit isn't huge in month one, it's only $36 every time somebody comes in, you cover your cost to acquire the customer and some, so you get to keep a little bit for yourself, which means that you can now afford to put more money into your advertising system. Now, obviously, with all that said, and then the thing to mention on top of this too is that not only can you afford to put more money into your advertising system, but now every single time that those people come in to visit you for the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth visit, that's all profit that you get to keep, right? There's no you don't have to pay the customer acquisition cost twice. You only have to pay it one time. Now, things I didn't take into consideration for this example are other expenses. So you might have like a good faith exam, you might have employee costs, you might have consumable costs. Your show rate and your purchase rate probably aren't going to be 100%. What you charge per unit is going to be different than the example that I used here. What you're able to buy Botox for is going to be completely different. And so there's obviously a lot of different numbers here, and the numbers for you are probably going to be much different. And so if you take nothing else from this video, what I would encourage you to take from this video is the goal should be to make your upsells as big as possible so we can create as much room for you as the business owner as possible. And the higher the prices of your upsells, the better you and your team have to be at sales. And this is why I harp on sales all the time on this channel. I tell my clients how important sales is, and I really struggle to get buy-in. But if you are going to run ads, you need to take sales seriously, okay? Sales isn't this big scary thing that it's against our brand. You need to get over that. You need to start realizing that, okay, sales is something that we need to take seriously. We're gonna start practicing this every day. We're gonna practice objection handling. We're gonna practice our consultation. We're gonna practice discovery. And then we need to start to really drill our teams on this. Now let's run through some examples. Let's say that you offer 3 packages, right? So let's say that you're going to upsell people into 3 different, you're going to attempt to upsell people into 3 different packages. We're still using the same upfront offer where it's $100 for the 10 units of Botox, but then we are going to attempt to sell people into 3 different packages. The first one is your premium, your high ticket package where you get your desired result with certainty. It's super fast and with the least amount of effort or sacrifice. Let's just say that your biggest package is a full year of Botox for $22.97 plus some fast action bonuses. And let's just pretend like you are gross profiting $1,000 from this. So without doing all the math here, let's just pretend like your gross profit from every time you make a sale of this is $1,000. Now, let's say you have a mid-ticket item here and your gross profit is $600. And let's just say that's like, hey, the next 2 visits of Botox for $12.97. And then let's say that you have like a standard upsell, which is your 50 units for $697 plus some fast action bonuses, and your gross profit is $300. And now let's say that 10% of the people that come in end up purchasing this big one, 10% purchase the second one, and 10% purchase the third one. Again, just for simplicity's sake. Well, now all of a sudden our average 30-day gross profit is $218 and your customer acquisition cost is $100. You now have $118 to cover all of the additional costs that I didn't include in my example. This is like your good faith, your employee, your consumables. If you have less than 100% show rate or less than 100% purchase rate, now all of a sudden you have a massive buffer in order to make this incredibly profitable. Now, what I did was I actually went ahead and made a Google Sheet to run through this exact example as well. Let's just run through this example. Let's say that your marketing cost, so all of the money that you spend on marketing is $3,000. That let's say that results in 30 appointments. Let's say that your show rate is $90. Let's say that your intro offer is $100. Let's say that it costs you to fulfill on this $130. Maybe we're now taking into consideration your employee costs, your consumable costs, all of those different costs. Let's say that you're like, okay, every single time we get somebody in for this offer, it costs me as a business owner $130. Let's say that 60% of people end up purchasing this intro offer, and then we have 3 different packages we upsell people into. 10% buy the first one, 10% buy the second one, 10% buy the third one. And then that means that leaves 10% of people that don't buy anything, because that does happen. Let's just say 1 out of every 10 people don't end up purchasing anything. That means that you would have 24 total people, total purchasers, so 20 people that actually purchase on your thing. Now, I set up the sheet so it does all the math for you, but that means that your customer acquisition cost would be $123. The average 30-day gross profit would be $172. Your minimum goal lifetime gross profit would be $370. This means that you would break even in 30 days, and you would even have $49 left over when it's all said and done. And this is a more realistic example. So if you want this sheet, I'll put a link to it in the description. I think that you can play around with the numbers or whatever. Just make sure you make a copy of this. But I think the key lesson to learn in this, if you don't want to, even if you're bogged down by all these numbers and you're like, I don't understand what all the numbers mean, if nothing else, this is just proof that you need to learn how to sell. Okay, you need to have upsells and packages and cross sells and all these different things where when people come in for your intro offer, you need to have a plan to sell them something else. And if you're currently unsuccessful in that, then you need to work on getting better at sales every single day. Whether it's you that's doing the consultations or whether you train your team, it's time to start taking it seriously and spend time, 15 to 30 minutes bare minimum every single day, getting better at sales. Because then when you're better at sales, you'll be able to sell packages for $2,300 or $1,300 or $700. And then all of a sudden your ads will be massively profitable and you'll be basically getting customers for free. And then every time they come in after that, it's just pure gravy for you. So I know this video is a little bit more technical and a little bit more numbers based. If you need help with this, then what you can do is you can click the link below. There will be a page to my website. On my website, there's a video on there. Feel free to watch that video, and it explains how we could potentially guarantee you 30 qualified aesthetic consults in 90 days. And if we don't get you that result, then you wouldn't pay. Below that, there's a button to book a call with me. And then when you book a call with me, we can start to run through these numbers for you and start to make it make sense for you as well. So I hope this is helpful, and thanks so much.